Hey, it's Brent. At the time of recording this episode, Belize had 686 cases of COVID-19, including 6 deaths. The situation is changing daily, so by the time you hear this podcast, those numbers will likely be out of date. Coming up, it takes a village to survive a pandemic. A full episode of nothing but good news about COVID-19 heroes in Belize.
You're listening to Brent's 2 Cents, the semi-serious thoughts of a guy in Belize. And now here's the host of this podcast from somewhere in Belize City, Brent Toombs.
Hey, welcome to the podcast for the week of August 24th. Well, that was a hell of a week last week, wasn't it? More than 230 new cases of COVID-19 just since my last podcast 1 week ago. San Pedro, Guinea Grass, Shipyard, and Santa Martha remain on lockdown. Meanwhile, the restrictions everywhere else in this country have gotten about as tight as they possibly can without actually declaring a national lockdown. But you know what? I don't want to talk about any of that. Not this week. So if you're listening to this podcast because you wanted to hear me rant about people who still don't wear their masks properly, or how the Attorney General of Belize had to spend an inordinate amount of time on Saturday night answering questions about the nuances of getting tacos, well, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. Instead, I am only going to talk about good news this week. A couple of positive stories about how some people are performing amazing acts of community service during a time of crisis. Starting in Caye Caulker, one of my favorite places in all of Belize. While Caye Caulker may not be under lockdown like its big sister San Pedro, the collapse of tourism, both foreign and now domestic, has hit the island extremely hard. Local estimates put the unemployment rate in Caye Caulker at 85 to 90%. A group of about 70 volunteers and business owners have created the Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen to provide meals for people in their community who need assistance. And the need is great. There are only about 2,000 people who live in Caye Caulker, but right now, nearly 1 out of every 4 people on that island is relying on the soup kitchen for meals. I had the opportunity to speak with 2 Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen volunteers who were gracious enough to make time for me while feeding about 460 people just this past Friday. Susan Newhouse and Liberty Velstra are full-time residents of Caye Caulker who have lived on the island for several years. Susan explains how the Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen began almost as soon as tourism ground to a halt in Belize earlier this year.
So in March, when the island shut down, I believe March 23rd, there is a restaurant on the island called the Bondi Bar, and Peggy Clark is the owner of that restaurant, and she realized that there was going to be a need to feed the people if we were going to be shutting down. So she, along with a few other volunteers, started out with a spaghetti meal that was done as a fundraiser. It was done very inexpensively to try to help raise money to buy more food to continue to feed. And so the Bondi Bar is where it all began. From Peggy's idea, more volunteers came together, and from there, more restaurants became involved. It was really amazing how once people heard about it, people jumped in and said, hey, I want to help. I want to be a part of this. This is our home. This is our community, and we need to help each other.
So now you guys have basically like an army of volunteers that have taken this project, this Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen, and grown it into this huge effort. How do you keep everything organized?
Well, it's quite a challenge at time, but we have a lot of people with very specific roles. So we have what we call a steering committee, which is a group of 6 people and that we are part of. And so we are doing most of the organizing, the finances, operations, the sourcing of food products, etc. And then we have a lot of volunteers on the ground, which consists of the people that are cooking in the kitchens of all the different restaurants that are involved, the volunteers that are doing the handing out of meals. Then we have a bunch of ladies on the island that are baking and cooking. For example, there's a lady that makes tortillas whenever we do burritos. There's a lady that makes meat pies. So there are a lot of different people involved in this program, which is amazing.
Now, I understand that the number of people you're feeding has grown to over 400. 400 people are relying on the Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen to get a hot meal every day. That's like 20% of the population of Caye Caulker. How bad is the situation in Caye Caulker right now?
Really, we're like at, I don't know, between 450, 460 a day. Once the island shut back down 2 weeks ago, we have seen a huge increase. People are, I think that, they're worried. The airport's not opened and they haven't had work in 6 months. You start running out of your savings and you still have rent to pay, electric bills. So I guess our thought process is with the soup kitchen, if we can provide you with a hot meal and then a second takeaway meal each day, the money that you do have, hopefully you can pay rent, pay a utility bill, pay for your kids to go back to school. Another thing I think is important to know is that we do put money back into the community through the soup kitchen donations by, with our local food vendors, we buy the meat pies from a lady that has a small restaurant on the island. We purchase the tortillas, we buy bread, we buy muffins, we buy Johnny cakes. So it's important to know that weekly, and we share that business among a lot of different ladies that cook in their homes. So we are able to give, pay for those items weekly, which are helping them in return. So we do generate money. We use the Chicken Depot is where we try to buy the majority of our chicken. We use the Caye Caulker Bakery. We work with Rapidito, who gives us a much lesser price for fuel, but we do provide the gas for the kitchens, for their ovens. Ocean Ferry gives us a break on bringing items out from the mainland. So it's just a tremendous effort of this whole island. Buddy's Golf Cart gave us a golf cart the first 3 months because we have to make deliveries all day, every day, barge pickups. We're moving a massive amount of food on a daily basis.
And that massive amount of food, I mean, it still has a cost, regardless of the fact that you have, it's all volunteers. Nobody's making a profit off this, but it costs money to feed that many people. And you're feeding over 400 right now. How have you managed to fund this program? And how long do you think you'll be able to sustain this?
Well, we have received quite some donations right here on the island. We're keeping track of every dollar that we spend and every dollar that's coming in. And then besides that, there were many people abroad that also wanted to help. So we started a GoFundMe campaign, and our GoFundMe campaign right now is over $65,000, which is really amazing. People from all over the world have been contributing. Some that have come to the island for many years, others that maybe were here one time on vacation for 2 or 3 days, and they love the people here and they want to help. So it has really been very touching to see, all the help coming in from all over the world.
So Liberty, a GoFundMe campaign that has raised $65,000 for the Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen. That sounds like a lot of money, but when you break it down, it really doesn't go that far, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been carefully watching our spending and stretching it, because the more we can stretch it, the more people that we can help. We set a maximum food price, a food cost per meal, at $2.50 Belize per person. And we try to stay under that price. And until now, we have succeeded in doing that. So we try to buy in bulk and cut costs wherever we can. We also get a lot of food items donated, which is really, really incredible. For example, Mary Sharps has donated a large amount of her jams and sauces. Grace Kennedy has donated Tender Above Meats. A buffalo company from Orange Walk has given us meat. There's a local guy here on the island, Ramon Reyes, who has donated loaves of bread. So it's really amazing to see what is coming in. And then there's even a company in, a farm in Punta Gorda that is donating bananas every week. So it's incredible seeing the whole country help and contributing.
And I think it's important to note that the local fishermen have been really important in this process. They have, on many weeks, caught fish for the soup kitchen, and then we've been able to serve that from one of the restaurants. We have a young man who's 19 here on the island, and he started donating Johnny cakes every morning. He was making them and selling them out of their home, and he heard about Soup Kitchen, and so every morning while he was making Johnny cakes, he would make a certain amount to donate back to the community. We have Southside Pizza that was donating bread every week. And I would really love to be able to tell you who the restaurants are, because without them, we wouldn't have a soup kitchen. Happy Lobster, Food Republic, Sports Bar, Belize Dive Services, Royal Orchid. This week, we're adding a new restaurant, Pasta Picasso. Of course, it started at the Bondi Bar. Hibisca has been big in helping us. Amigos Restaurant in the very beginning, they did the food, but they provided the food and the kitchen staff, and they did that for many weeks. And we did not have to buy any of that food, which has really helped us keep the program going. Summer Island, Fantasy Dining, Barefoot Caribbean Fusion, Chef Juan's. And then the restaurants that didn't have a kitchen large enough, while they were still open, they were able to donate a percentage of their sales each weekend, which were Pasta Picasso, Southside Pizza, Pizza Ataglio, and Anchor Restaurant.
Well, that's amazing. I know the slogan you guys are using on your social media is, "It takes a village to feed a village." I think it's an excellent example for all of us in Belize that, if we just all pitch in together, if we all pull in the same direction, we can get through this. What else is happening in Caye Caulker? I know you guys aren't the only ones that are doing this kind of relief effort.
Yeah. So when we started our program back in April, at the same time, Hands of Love started a program as well. Hands of Love is related to the lazy lizard, the split, run by James Linsky. And they started focusing more on grocery packages, and we took the focus on a hot daily meal.
I see there's even one woman that's running a baby pantry where people can get things like diapers.
Yeah, her name is Jessica Marin. She's a local lady here on the island. And she saw that there were a lot of young mothers, or mothers that were, ladies that were expecting. And the cost of baby items is very, very high in this country. And some just simply couldn't afford it. So she started with packages with baby items, which has been a tremendous help. And of course, the village council has also handed out food packages now and then. There have been different efforts on this island.
Well, Susan and Liberty, I want to thank you very much for taking time to talk to me. Especially want to say thank you to all the volunteers and everyone who's contributing to the Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen and all the other relief efforts on your island. This is an amazing example of a community pulling together in a time of crisis. Like you say, it takes a village to feed a village. People who want to help, they can find information about the Caye Caulker Soup Kitchen on your Facebook page, and I'll post links to that page as well as your GoFundMe page in my show notes and on the Brent's 2 Cents social media sites. I want to say once again, thank you very much, and please stay safe.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much, Brent.
Thank you.
We want to hear from you. You can find Brent's 2 Cents on Twitter and Facebook at 2 Cents Belize, or email us at podcast@oxaproductions.com. That's OXA Productions with an S.com.
Now from Caye Caulker, we move over to San Pedro, and a story about one woman who is also providing free meals for people in her community who are in desperate need of assistance. Maresha Reed is a chef and the proprietor of Pirates Treasure Restaurant and Pirates Not So Secret Beach Bar and Grill. Like most businesses on Ambergris Caye, the 2 lockdowns and the collapse of tourism have hit Maresha hard. But with a little perseverance and a whole lot of community spirit, she's managing to keep at least one of her restaurants open and keep 3 people employed, while at the same time donating hot meals for islanders who otherwise may go hungry.
I started the hot meal program initially in March, the second day after our initial lockdown. As a business owner, I had both my businesses closed, mandatory. I had at least over 13 staff that had to be sent home, which we can't help them. So I figured, with my staff being down, everybody else's staff is down. We need to help the people right away, because on the island, everybody lives day to day, except if you're a business owner. So I decided with my free time, I love to cook, I love to stay busy. So I'm like, let me put something together with all the contacts I have, business people I share with. I'm like, hey guys, can you give me a little hand? I have this initiative, and the support was overwhelming. So we started right away, and we started delivering food. We ended up serving up to over 300 plates a day. Ending it just after the initial SI was lifted up in June, we ended up serving over 15,000 hot meals.
So now in the last couple of weeks, since things have been locked down in San Pedro again, how many people are you feeding daily right now?
As of now, I have 70 people on my list. We make a hot meal every day except Thursdays, which is the one day off I take, to recoup and try to figure things out. With deliver-wise, because I'm doing it a little different than I did it the first time. The first time around, we did it 3 times a week, and we served over 300 plates. So I'm trying to stretch it out so I don't have that big crowd and don't have a lot of people together cooking, because before I had up to 10 to a dozen people volunteering, cooking, prepping, all that. So I'm trying to keep the staff down so we're not, congregating more than 10 people. Right now, it's about 4 of us executing this meal every day.
And the 4 of you, or the 3 others, are they volunteers or are these staff that you're paying?
These are staff of mine. This is why I'm doing it a little different around, to help my staff and help me. The way I'm doing it this time around is basically I'm asking others to help by purchasing a meal from me, and I give it to them. So this way it assists me and it assists the people as well. Because in the first time around, I had both my business closed down, and I just spent those 3 months just fully engaged with the hot meal program, raising funds, and it's going great the way it's going right now. I keep some of my staff employed, keep myself busy, people get fed, and everybody's loving it.
So people can purchase a meal that you will essentially donate to someone else, but you're also open for business. So I guess just buying food from you also helps because it keeps your business going, which will allow you to keep doing this outreach.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Once they give the okay to go ahead and open, I open, and I've been doing I'm well known on the island for my nice comfort food. Everybody who knows me know I cook some really good food. So I've been getting some great support.
Now, I noticed you also did a GoFundMe page.
Yes, I have that up going. Actually, that funds right now is what I'm using directly to purchase. The last time when I reached about $4,000 on there, I went ahead and said, all right, guys, I can guarantee you 7 people will eat for 2 weeks. Guaranteed. The more funds start coming in. I've received some cash donations from some neighbors, business owners on the island that's been helping me from before. And all those funds go directly to purchasing meals for people, along with a fresh natural juice, because we all have to stay healthy. and we deliver it to the people so they don't have to get out of their home.
Now, this current lockdown that you're having in San Pedro has been going for about 2 weeks. I think, we're looking at least another 2 weeks for you guys. We don't know when the airport's going to open, which obviously impacts tourism, which is the primary income earner for just about everybody on Ambergris Caye. How long do you think you're going to need to continue something like this? And how long realistically do you think you can sustain this type of relief program?
So the initial one, we went around for about 3 months. This time around, I'm looking at assisting people with at least for the time being that we're locked down, because that is when it gets super, super rough here. Because like I mentioned, you can't go out and, ask the neighbor for a little job and make a little something, to get you by for the day. So with the lockdown is what makes it super difficult. There's nothing moving. Nobody's moving. No money's moving. And we just have to deal with it, So I applaud my friends, Alexandra Boynton, who's still on the ties. That's a great initiative. Hope Haven, they've been along. And between all of us, we can help each other out on this island. That's one thing I admire that I've, since living on this island. There's great community love.
Yeah, you basically just answered my next question, which is, the San Pedro spirit. I mean, you've been on the island for nearly 20 years. And so you've gone through storms and other, economic crises. What is it about San Pedranos that they just always seem to unite in times of crisis?
I guess it's just, we live in a small community. Everybody knows everybody. And I don't know, what is it? We're just full of love. We're used to being there for each other. And when it comes to medical help, the whole town gets together.
Well, I think it's a wonderful example for the rest of Belize. It makes me feel good as a Belizean to hear about what's happening in parts of our country that are as affected as San Pedro is right now. So
we're definitely way more affected than the mainland. I went to the mainland after the first lockdown when we were opened up, and when I went to Caye, and I was very surprised. Every restaurant I went was pretty much filled. Business seemed going as normal. Well, the new normal with the face mask and all the procedures it takes to go out and dine. But I was very surprised when I came back. I'm like, you know what? We are the ones really taking a massive hit.
Yeah, I think that's something that people on the mainland of Belize probably don't realize, is that this is just how bad the situation is. I mean, I'm seeing on social media, well-known businesses and tour guides that are putting up GoFundMe pages, just to keep a roof over their head.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah, a lot of I'm doing it a little differently, but it's the same thing. Supporting people that's been here on this island forever. We're all, like I said, all from top to bottom. We're all being affected.
So, Maresha, you're at the sort of epicenter, as we're calling it, of this current crisis. What would be your message for not only your community, but maybe Belize in general right now?
For Belize in general, I would ask my fellow Belizean residents, everyone who's here, to show compassion, especially to people on the island. The cyberbullying, that's no fun. Everybody's going through a crisis. Everybody will need help at some point. The mainland will be affected. It won't be just the island, because this won't go away anytime soon. And we just need to learn how to love each other, be kind to each other, and respect each other. It will go a long way.
Maresha, thank you very much for doing what you can to help out your community, and of course to everyone else on the island for doing their part to assist in this difficult time. I'm going to put the link to your GoFundMe page in the show notes for this podcast, and I'll share it on all my social media pages. So anyone listening outside Belize that wants to get in contact with you or make a donation will know how to do that. I really hope you'll continue to get the support you need to keep the hot meal program going for as long as it's needed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Awareness is what brings us help. So thank you. And thanks for everybody who's donated already. And for anybody who wants to donate, please feel free to contact me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Maresha. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Okay, it's that time of the show when I get to tell you about another Belizean podcast. And unfortunately, this might be the last Belizean podcast that I get to talk about for a while. That's because I can't find any more active Belizean podcasts. Hopefully, there's still a few more that I haven't been able to find by searching Apple Podcasts and the other apps. So if you know of any other Belizeans currently creating podcasts, please message me so I can tell everyone about them. But in the meantime, let me tell you about Belizean in the Diaspora from William K. Flowers. As the title suggests, this is a podcast from a Belizean living in the diaspora, Los Angeles to be specific. And William's episodes are mostly a mix of topics of current events in the United States and Belize. But he also shares a bit of his personal history, such as his most recent episode, where he tells the story of growing up poor in Belize City and how he worked and saved until he was able to travel by bus to the United States and begin a new life for himself up there. It's a fascinating personal account of migration, which is a very important part of both Belize's history and our current reality. And that's going to do it for episode 8 of Brent's 2 Cents. Remember, you can find this show everywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all the podcast apps available for Android and iPhone. Every episode is also uploaded to YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. Once you subscribe, this podcast will automatically show up in your device every Monday morning, and you'll be able to listen to it anytime or anywhere you choose. And if you like the show, please don't forget to give it a 5-star rating and a review, because those things really help an independent podcast like this to get noticed. Remember, you can contact me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at 2 Cents Belize. And I especially encourage you to leave me a WhatsApp voice message to use on next week's podcast. You can find the WhatsApp number on the Brent's 2 Cents Facebook page. And finally, you can be part of the podcast movement in Belize by sharing this show with at least one person who otherwise may not know about it. There's no better advertising than your recommendation. So please help to grow the audience for Brent's 2 Cents and all of your favorite Belizean podcasts. Hey, the COVID-19 situation is not getting any better in Belize right now. But like you just heard from some of the heroes I spoke with on this episode, the best way to get through this is by taking care of each other. So until next week, stay home as much as possible, wash your hands, wear your mask, and most importantly, be nice to each other.
Brent's 2 Cents is a presentation of OSHA Productions, Belize's affordable professional video production company.